Quieting the Inner Critic, Techniques to Silence Negative Self-Talk. Written and published by Ciro Irmici. Feel free to subscribe for more content. Now let's get into the book. Introduction, Understanding the Inner Critic. Welcome to a world where you're never alone because, let's face it, that little voice in your head never stops talking. You know the one I'm talking about, the inner critic. It's that nagging voice that loves to point out every misstep, every awkward moment, and every time you accidentally said you too when the waiter wished you a nice meal. Charming, right? The inner critic isn't just annoying, it's relentless. It whispers, or sometimes shouts, doubts and criticisms, making you second-guess your every move. While most people think it's just a part of being human, for those struggling with social anxiety, this voice can be downright paralyzing. It's the uninvited guest at every party, meeting, and conversation, reminding you of every past mistake and predicting every possible future embarrassment. But here's the good news, that inner critic doesn't have to run the show. This book is your guide to understanding that pesky voice, why it's so loud, and, most importantly, how to turn the volume way down. You will learn how to identify when your inner critic is at work, uncover the root causes of its negativity, and master practical techniques to quiet it for good. We'll explore everything from the psychology behind why your brain defaults to self-criticism, to practical, day-to-day strategies like mindfulness, cognitive behavioral techniques, and even a little bit of self-compassion. Yes, you read that right, you can actually be nice to yourself. And don't worry, we'll keep it real with a dash of humor because if we can't laugh at our inner critic, then we're just letting it have all the fun. By the end of this journey, you'll not only have a toolkit to manage your inner critic, but you'll also start seeing yourself through a kinder, more forgiving lens. Imagine navigating social situations without the constant barrage of self-doubt. Picture yourself speaking up without the fear of saying the wrong thing, or simply enjoying a moment without that internal monologue reminding you why you shouldn't. So, let's dive in together. It's time to meet your inner critic, show it who's boss, and start living life on your own terms free from that never-ending mental commentary. You've got this. And if your inner critic says otherwise, well, it's about to meet its match. Chapter 1. Identifying your inner critic. If you've ever found yourself mentally replaying a conversation hours after it happened or cringing at something you said years ago, congratulations, you've already met your inner critic. This persistent voice loves to nitpick, judge, and remind you of every perceived flaw, whether anyone else noticed it or not. It's the unwelcome commentator in your life, always ready with a snarky remark when you're feeling vulnerable. But here's the thing, your inner critic isn't just a random, rogue thought. It's a deeply ingrained part of your psyche that has developed over time, shaped by your experiences, upbringing, and societal pressures. Identifying your inner critic is the first step in quieting it, and it all starts with awareness. You can't fight what you can't see, and often, this critical voice is so sneaky and embedded in our thinking that we don't even realize it's there. It masquerades as just the way things are, but trust me, it's not the whole truth. Recognizing the voice of your inner critic. The inner critic has many faces, but its core job is to keep you in line through criticism. It might sound like a harsh teacher, a disapproving parent, or even an insecure version of yourself. The voice often whispers, or yells, things like, "You're not good enough, you'll never fit in," but everyone thinks you're weird. And because it often uses your own voice, it feels like an honest assessment rather than a baseless critique. This voice can strike at any time, during a job interview when your hands start sweating, at a party where you're sure you've said the wrong thing, or even in the quiet moments when you're alone, replaying every social mishap in vivid detail. It convinces you that you're under constant scrutiny, making every situation feel like a test you're doomed to fail. To start identifying your inner critic, pay attention to the tone and content of your self-talk, especially during stressful or socially intense moments. Note each of the words you use with yourself. Are they kind, encouraging, or constructive? Or are they accusatory, harsh, and unforgiving? Do you find yourself making absolute statements like "I always mess up" or "I'm never going to be good at this"? These are classic trademarks of the inner critic at work. Common patterns of self-criticism. The inner critic doesn't just randomly throw out insults. It follows specific patterns designed to hit where it hurts most. Some of the common forms it takes include 1. The perfectionist. This critic demands flawless performance and constantly points out imperfections. It's never satisfied, no matter how much you achieve or how hard you try. Every mistake, no matter how small, is highlighted as evidence of failure. 2. The comparer. This voice loves to stack you up against everyone else, convincing you that you fall short. Whether it's your appearance, your social skills, or your career, the comparer finds a way to make you feel less than everyone around you. 3. The guilt tripper. This version of the critic delights in making you feel guilty for things you did or didn't do. It reminds you of past mistakes and missed opportunities, framing you as irresponsible or thoughtless. 4. The underminer. This critic actively tries to undermine your confidence, whispering that you're not ready, not capable, or not worthy. It tells you not to bother trying because failure is inevitable. Recognizing these patterns helps you see that these thoughts aren't truths. Chapter 2. The psychology behind the inner critic. Now that you've met your inner critic and begun to recognize its voice, it's time to dig deeper and understand why it's there in the first place. The inner critic doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's a complex product of your brain's wiring, your upbringing, and the societal influences that have shaped you. This chapter is all about unraveling the psychology behind your inner critic, where it comes from, why it's so persistent, and how it manages to wield so much power over your thoughts and feelings. The key to disarming your inner critic lies in understanding its origins. By exploring the psychological underpinnings, you'll start to see that this voice is not an infallible judge but a flawed part of your psyche that has overstepped its boundaries. The critic thrives on certain mental habits and patterns that, once understood, can be dismantled and replaced with healthier, more supportive self-talk. Cognitive distortions. How your mind plays tricks on you. At the heart of the inner critic are cognitive distortions, mental shortcuts that your brain takes when processing information. While these shortcuts can help you navigate the world quickly, they often lead you astray, particularly when it comes to your self-perception. Cognitive distortions are exaggerated or irrational thought patterns that reinforce negative thinking and fuel your inner critic. One of the most common distortions is catastrophizing, where your mind jumps to the worst possible outcome in any given situation. You spill coffee during a meeting, and suddenly you're convinced that everyone thinks you're incompetent. Or you fumble your words during a conversation, and your mind immediately decides that you've embarrassed yourself beyond repair. This kind of thinking amplifies the critic's voice, making minor missteps feel like catastrophic failures. Another frequent distortion is black and white thinking, seeing things in extremes with no middle ground. If you're not the most charming person in the room, your inner critic insists you're a complete social disaster. There's no room for the reality that most interactions are a mix of good and awkward moments, and that's perfectly normal. This all-or-nothing mindset keeps you trapped in a cycle of self-judgment, where any perceived flaw feels like a total failure. Personalization is another distortion that fuels the critic. This is when you take responsibility for things that are outside of your control. For example, if a conversation doesn't go well, you automatically assume it's because of something you did or said wrong, ignoring the fact that communication is a two-way street and sometimes people just have off days. These cognitive distortions are powerful because they operate automatically, without conscious thought. Your brain uses them to make quick judgments, but in doing so, it often misinterprets reality, leading to a distorted self-view. Recognizing these patterns is the first step in challenging them. The more you understand how your mind twists the truth, the better equipped you'll be to counteract those distortions with more balanced, realistic thinking. The origins of negative self-talk: childhood, society, and experiences. Your inner critic didn't develop overnight. It's the product of years of accumulated experiences, many of which date back to your earliest memories. Childhood is a critical time when your brain is highly malleable, and the messages you receive, whether from parents, teachers, or peers, can shape how you see yourself for years to come. If you grew up in an environment where criticism was frequent and praise was scarce, your brain learned to focus on what was wrong rather than what was right. Perhaps you were constantly told to do better, to strive harder, or to avoid making mistakes. While this feedback might have been intended to help you improve, it often had the opposite effect, instilling a deep-seated belief that you were never quite enough. Similarly, if you faced rejection, bullying, or exclusion during your formative years, those painful experiences likely left a mark. The critic steps in as a way to protect you from future hurt by keeping you hyper-aware of your perceived flaws. If you've ever felt like your critic was trying to preemptively fix you before others could judge you, that's your brain's attempt to avoid the sting of past rejection. Societal and cultural influences also play a significant role in shaping the critic. We live in a world that constantly bombards us with images of perfection, perfect bodies, perfect careers, perfect social lives. Social media, in particular, has amplified these pressures, creating a distorted reality where everyone else seems to be living flawlessly curated lives. Your inner critic takes these unrealistic standards and uses them as a measuring stick, finding every possible way in which you don't measure up. It's also worth noting that societal expectations around gender, race, and other aspects of identity can compound the critic's voice. For instance, if you've been socialized to always be agreeable, polite, or high-achieving, your critic may relentlessly punish you for falling short of these ideals. Understanding these broader influences helps you see that your critic's standards are not only unfair but often impossible to meet. The connection between perfectionism and social anxiety. Perfectionism is one of the inner critic's favorite tools. It convinces you that if you can just be perfect, if you can just say the right thing, look the right way, and never make mistakes, you will finally be accepted and free from judgment. But the perfectionism is a trap. It sets standards so high that they are unachievable, and when you inevitably fall short, your critic swoops in to remind you of your failure. Social anxiety and perfectionism often go hand in hand. When you're anxious about social situations, the critic's perfectionist demands can feel like a way to gain control. If you can perfectly rehearse what you're going to say, or if you can make sure you look flawless, maybe you can avoid the dreaded judgment of others. But in reality, these perfectionist standards only heighten anxiety, making every social interaction feel like a performance where failure is not an option. Perfectionism also prevents you from being authentic. Instead of showing up as your true self, you're constantly editing and filtering to meet an ideal that exists only in your mind. This self-censorship feeds the critic, because when you're not true to yourself, it's easy to feel disconnected, inadequate, and constantly striving for something that isn't real. The critic thrives in this environment of self-imposed pressure, feeding off every perceived imperfection, unmasking the false beliefs that drive your inner critic. At the core of your inner critic are false beliefs, deeply held convictions about yourself that are not based on reality but on distorted interpretations of your experiences. These beliefs often form in childhood and go unchallenged for years, becoming the foundation of the critic's narrative. Common false beliefs include thoughts like I'm not good enough, I don't belong, or I'm unworthy of love and acceptance. These beliefs are not only false but incredibly limiting. They shape how you approach every social interaction, often leading you to hold back, avoid risks, or self-sabotage in ways that reinforce the critic's voice. To unmask these false beliefs, it's essential to start questioning them. Ask yourself, where did this belief come from? What evidence do I have that it's true? Is this belief serving me, or is it holding me back? Often, you'll find that these beliefs are based on outdated information messages you received in the past that no longer apply to your present reality. It's also helpful to replace these false beliefs with more balanced, empowering statements. Instead of I'm not good enough, try reframing it as I'm learning and growing, and that's enough. This isn't about forcing yourself into blind positivity, it's about giving yourself permission to be imperfect, human, and worthy, just as you are. Moving forward, reclaiming your mind from the inner critic. Understanding the psychology behind your inner critic is a powerful step toward reclaiming your mind. By recognizing the cognitive distortions, societal influences, and false beliefs that fuel this voice, you can start to see it for what it truly is: a collection of outdated patterns that no longer serve you. Your inner critic isn't your true self, it's a reflection of past hurts, unrealistic expectations, and unchallenged beliefs. As you continue this journey, remember that your goal isn't to eradicate the critic entirely but to transform it. You're not here to wage war against your mind, but to gently guide it back to a place of balance, compassion, and truth. With each chapter, you'll gain new tools and insights to quiet the critic's voice and replace it with one that is supportive, kind, and realistic. You're building a new narrative, one where your inner critic no longer runs the show, and where you can finally feel at peace with who you are, flaws, quirks, and all. It's time to take the power back, one thought at a time. Chapter 3, Mindfulness as a Tool to Quiet the Inner Voice. Now that you've begun to recognize your inner critic and understand the psychological forces that fuel it, it's time to introduce one of the most powerful tools in your arsenal, mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of bringing your full attention to the present moment, without judgment or distraction. While it might sound simple, it's a deeply transformative approach that can help you manage your inner critic and silence the relentless negative self-talk that feeds your social anxiety. Mindfulness teaches you to observe your thoughts and feelings without getting tangled up in them. It's about noticing the critic's voice, acknowledging it, and letting it pass without letting it take control. When you learn to become a neutral observer of your inner world, the critic loses much of its power. Instead of being swept away by self-criticism, you gain the space to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This chapter will guide you through the basics of mindfulness, how to integrate it into your daily life, and why it's such an effective tool in quieting the inner critic. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is often described as being in the moment, but it's more than just paying attention. It's about cultivating a gentle awareness of your thoughts, feelings, and surroundings without the usual filters of judgment or analysis. In mindfulness, you're not trying to change anything, you're simply noticing what is happening in the present moment with curiosity and acceptance. Imagine you're at a social gathering, and your inner critic starts chiming in. You're awkward, everyone is judging you, you said something stupid. A typical reaction might be to spiral into anxiety, retreat inward, or ruminate on those thoughts long after the event. Mindfulness, however, offers a different approach. Instead of getting caught up in those thoughts, you acknowledge them. There's my inner critic again, and then bring your focus back to the present, the people you're with, the sounds in the room, the sensations of your breath. You don't have to engage with the critic's commentary, you just notice it and let it be. Mindfulness doesn't mean you won't have negative thoughts. It doesn't magically make your inner critic disappear. Instead, it changes your relationship with your thoughts. You learn that you don't have to believe every critical voice that arises. You can acknowledge it without being overwhelmed by it. This shift in perspective is what makes mindfulness such a powerful tool against the inner critic's persistent grip. Technique to stay present in the moment. Staying present might sound straightforward, but in practice, it can be incredibly challenging, especially when your mind is used to racing ahead or replaying past mistakes. The good news is that mindfulness is a skill, and like any skill, it can be developed with practice. Here are some foundational techniques to help you stay grounded in the moment, even when your inner critic is at its loudest. 1. Focus on your breath. Your breath is always with you, making it a perfect anchor for mindfulness. Whenever you feel your critic starting to take over, gently bring your attention back to your breath. Notice the sensation of the air entering your nostrils, filling your lungs, and leaving your body. You don't need to change your breathing, just observe it. Each breath is a reminder that you're here, in this moment, and that's all that matters right now. As you focus on your breath, you might notice your thoughts wandering. That's okay. Mindfulness isn't about staying perfectly focused, it's about returning to your breath whenever you drift away. Each time you do, you're strengthening your ability to stay present, even when your mind tries to pull you into a spiral of self-criticism. 2. Ground yourself with your senses. Your senses are another powerful tool to bring you back to the present. When you find yourself lost in anxious thoughts, take a moment to ground yourself using your senses. Notice 5 things you can see, 4 things you can touch, 3 things you can hear, 2 things you can smell, and 1 thing you can taste. This simple exercise helps redirect your focus away from the inner critic and into the real world around you. For example, if you're in a social situation and your mind starts churning out critical thoughts, pause and feel the texture of your clothing, listen to the ambient sounds in the room, or notice the colors around you. This sensory grounding pulls you out of the whirlwind of self-criticism and back into the now, where your thoughts are just thoughts, not facts. 3. Practice mindful listening. Social anxiety often centers around the fear of how you're perceived in conversations. One way to combat this is through mindful listening. Instead of focusing on what you'll say next or how you're coming across, shift your attention entirely to the other person. Notice their words, their tone, and their body language without immediately formulating a response. Mindful listening helps quiet the inner critic because it takes the focus off yourself and your performance. You become a participant in the moment rather than a spectator of your own behavior. This presence not only makes you a better conversationalist but also reduces the mental space available for self-criticism. 4. Label your thoughts and feelings. When your inner critic starts to chatter, it's easy to get caught up in a storm of emotions and judgments. Mindfulness invites you to step back and simply label what you're experiencing. For example, Instead of thinking, "I'm so nervous, I'm going to mess up," you might label it as anxiety or self-doubt. This simple act of naming your thoughts and feelings creates a degree of separation between you and the critic. Labeling helps you see your inner dialogue for what it is, just thoughts, not truths. By identifying and naming them, you disrupt the automatic cycle of self-criticism and create space for a more compassionate, measured response. Breaking the habit of rumination. One of the biggest challenges for people with social anxiety is rumination, the endless replaying of past events, often with a critical lens. Your inner critic loves rumination because it's a chance to reinforce its negative narrative. But mindfulness provides an antidote. By focusing on the present, you reduce the mental time spent dwelling on the past or fearing the future. When you catch yourself ruminating, gently redirect your attention back to the present. It could be as simple as feeling the warmth of the sun on your skin, noticing the taste of your coffee, or listening to the sounds of nature. These small moments anchor you in reality, away from the mental loop of what-ifs and should-haves. Over time, mindfulness weakens the habit of rumination, allowing you to engage more fully with the present. Practical mindfulness exercises for everyday situations. Mindfulness doesn't require hours of meditation or special equipment. It's something you can weave into your daily routine. Here are some practical exercises that fit seamlessly into everyday life, helping you manage your inner critic no matter where you are. 1. The mindful morning routine. Start your day with mindfulness by taking 5 minutes to focus on your breath, set an intention for the day, or simply sit quietly with your morning coffee. This sets a calm tone for the day and gives you a chance to check in with yourself before the inner critic has a chance to hijack your thoughts. 2. Mindful commuting. Whether you're driving, walking, or taking public transport, turn your commute into a mindfulness practice. Instead of letting your mind wander into anxious thoughts about the day ahead, focus on the sensation of movement, the sights around you, or the rhythm of your breath. This simple shift turns a mundane task into an opportunity to ground yourself in the present. 3. The mindful pause. Throughout your day, take small mindful pauses whenever you notice the critic's voice creeping in. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and center yourself in the moment. Even a brief pause can reset your mental state and quiet the critic's chatter. 4. Mindful eating. Turn one meal a day into a mindful eating experience. Pay attention to the colors, textures, and flavors of your food. Eat slowly, savoring each bite without distractions. This practice not only improves your relationship with food but also strengthens your ability to be present in all aspects of your life. 5. Body scan meditation. At the end of the day, take a few minutes to do a body scan meditation. Lie down, close your eyes, and bring your attention to each part of your body, from your toes to the top of your head. Notice any areas of tension or discomfort without trying to change anything. This exercise helps you reconnect with your body and release the mental tension that often accompanies a critical mindset. Moving forward, integrating mindfulness into your life. Mindfulness is not a quick fix, it's a lifelong practice that evolves over time. The goal isn't to eliminate your inner critic entirely but to change how you respond to it with mindfulness. You develop the skill of noticing your inner dialogue without getting swept away by it. You learn that your thoughts are not commands, they are just mental events that you can observe, acknowledge, and let go. As you continue to practice mindfulness, you'll find that the critic's voice becomes less dominant. You will create more mental space for positive, supportive thoughts and cultivate a sense of inner peace that no critic can disrupt. Remember, mindfulness is about progress, not perfection. Each time you bring your attention back to the present, you're taking a step toward a quieter, more compassionate mind. Mindfulness is your ally in this journey, a constant, gentle reminder that you are more than your thoughts, more than your inner critic. You are present, aware, and capable of living fully in each moment, free from the endless cycle of self-judgment. As you integrate these practices into your life, you'll begin to experience the profound freedom that comes from living mindfully, with an open heart and a quieter mind. Chapter 4. Cognitive Behavioral Techniques to Reframe Negative Thoughts. In the battle against your inner critic, knowledge alone isn't enough. You need practical strategies to change the way you think and feel. One of the most effective methods for reshaping your inner dialogue and quieting the critic is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT is a well-established, evidence-based approach that focuses on identifying and challenging unhelpful thought patterns and replacing them with more balanced, constructive ones. It's like rewiring your mental circuitry, giving you the tools to break free from automatic negative thinking. In this chapter, we'll dive into specific CBT techniques that empower you to reframe your negative thoughts and quiet your inner critic. By learning to question the validity of your critical thoughts and replace them with more realistic perspectives, you can significantly reduce the grip of social anxiety. CBT doesn't just tell you to think positive, it equips you with practical skills to systematically dismantle the false narratives that fuel your inner critic. Introduction to Cognitive Behavioral Therapy, CBT. Cognitive behavioral therapy is rooted in the idea that our thoughts, feelings, and behaviors are interconnected. You think influences how you feel, and how you feel affects how you behave. For example, if your inner critic tells you that you're going to embarrass yourself at a party, you might feel anxious, leading you to avoid social situations altogether. This avoidance then reinforces the critic's belief that you can't handle social interactions, creating a self-perpetuating cycle. CBT aims to interrupt this cycle by helping you identify distorted thoughts, challenge them, and replace them with more balanced, evidence-based thinking. It's not about forcing yourself to be blindly optimistic, rather, it's about training your mind to see reality more clearly, free from the distortions of the critic. The beauty of CBT is that it gives you actionable tools you can use in real time, whether you're preparing for a presentation, meeting new people, or simply navigating everyday interactions. The goal is to empower you to become your own therapist, equipped with the skills to manage your inner critic whenever it tries to take over. How to challenge and reframe negative thoughts. One of the core principles of CBT is the idea of thought challenging, a process that involves scrutinizing the validity of your negative thoughts rather than accepting them at face value. Your inner critic is notorious for jumping to conclusions, often without any evidence to back up its harsh judgments. By challenging these thoughts, you begin to weaken their impact and replace them with a more balanced perspective. Step 1. Identify the automatic negative thought. The first step in challenging your inner critic is to catch it in the act. When you notice a surge of anxiety or self-doubt, pause and ask yourself, what was I just thinking? For example, if you're about to speak in a meeting and feel a wave of nervousness, your automatic thought might be, I'm going to mess up, and everyone will think I'm incompetent. This thought likely feels true in the moment, but it's crucial to recognize it as just that, a thought, not a fact. Step 2. Examine the evidence. Once you've identified the critical thought, it's time to put it on trial. Ask yourself, what evidence do I have that this thought is true? What evidence do I have that it's not true? Often, you'll find that the critic's claims are based on assumptions, not reality. For instance, if your thought is everyone will think I'm stupid, consider whether you have concrete evidence to support that belief. If people actually told you that you're incompetent, or is this just your fear talking? Equally important is identifying counter-evidence, facts that disprove the critic's narrative. Maybe you've received positive feedback in the past, or you've successfully spoken up in meetings before. Recognizing these facts helps you build a more balanced perspective, one that acknowledges your strengths alongside your fears. Step 3. Reframe the thought. After examining the evidence, reframe the negative thought into a more balanced statement. Instead of I'm going to mess up, and everyone will think I'm incompetent, you might reframe it as, I've prepared for this meeting, and even if I stumble, it doesn't define my abilities. The goal isn't to ignore potential challenges but to approach them from a standpoint of self-support rather than self-criticism. Reframing helps shift your focus from what could go wrong to what you can do right, empowering you to take action rather than retreat in fear. It's about creating a mental environment where your inner critic isn't the loudest voice, and where self-compassion and realistic thinking have a chance to be heard. Thought records, tracking and transforming self-talk. One of the most effective CBT tools is the thought record, a structured way to track, challenge, and reframe your negative thoughts. Keeping a thought record helps you systematically break down the critic's arguments and replace them with more constructive thinking patterns. Here's how a basic thought record works. 1. Situation. Describe the situation that triggered your inner critic. For example, I was at a networking event. 2. Automatic thought. Write down the automatic thought that came up. I'm terrible at networking, no one will want to talk to me. 3. Emotion. Note the emotions you felt and rate their intensity on a scale of 0 to 100. Anxiety, 80. 4. Evidence. 4. List the evidence that supports your thought. I've struggled with networking before. 5. Evidence against. List evidence that contradicts your thought. Eve had positive interactions at events before, and people have enjoyed talking to me. Say reframe thought, create a new, balanced thought based on the evidence. I might feel awkward, but that doesn't mean no one will want to talk to me. Eve done this before and can do it again. 7. Outcome. Re-rate your emotions after reframing. Anxiety, 40. By consistently using thought records, you train your mind to automatically challenge and reframe critical thoughts, reducing their power over time. It's like building a mental muscle that makes you stronger against self-doubt. Case studies, from self-doubt to self-compassion. Let's explore how CBT techniques work in real-life scenarios, illustrating the transformation from self-doubt to self-compassion. These case studies highlight the journey of individuals like you who have used these tools to change their inner dialogue. Case Study 1. Sarah's presentation anxiety. Sarah was a talented professional who dreaded giving presentations. Her inner critic constantly told her that she wasn't engaging enough, and she'd often lose sleep the night before a big talk, imagining all the ways she might fail. Using CBT, Sarah started tracking her negative thoughts before each presentation. Before a presentation, her automatic thought was, I'm going to forget everything and make a fool of myself. After examining the evidence, she realized she had given numerous presentations without incident and had always received positive feedback. She reframed her thought to, I've prepared well, and even if I make a mistake, I can handle it. Over time, this practice reduced her anxiety, allowing her to present with more confidence. Case Study 2. Tom's social comparisons. Tom struggled with constant comparisons, especially in social media settings. His critic often told him he was falling behind in life, leading to feelings of inadequacy and isolation. Through CBT, Tom began to challenge these comparisons. When his thought was, everyone else is more successful than me, he learned to question this narrative. What does success look like to me? And am I seeing the full picture of other people's lives? By reframing his thoughts, Tom shifted his focus from external comparisons to personal growth, fostering a more compassionate inner dialogue that celebrated his own progress rather than tearing himself down. Practical exercises to practice CBT in everyday life. CBT is most effective when it's integrated into your daily routine. Here are some exercises to help you put these techniques into practice, making it easier to manage your inner critic whenever it tries to take over. 1. The Daily Thought Challenge. Set aside 5 minutes each day to identify and challenge one negative thought. Write it down, examine the evidence, and reframe it. This daily habit builds your CBT skills, making it easier to catch and reframe critical thoughts in the moment. 2. What's the worst that could happen? Technique. When your inner critic spins scenarios of disaster, counter it by asking, what's the worst that could happen? Then, assess how realistic that outcome is and what you would do if it happened. This exercise helps put your fears into perspective, showing that even worst-case scenarios are often manageable. 3. Reframe with a friend. Sometimes it's easier to see the flaws in someone else's critical thinking than in your own. Practice reframing by helping a friend challenge their negative thoughts, and ask them to do the same for you. This reciprocal exercise builds your skills in a supportive, real-world context. 4. Affirmation journaling. Use journaling to reinforce positive reframes. Each day, write down one thing you're proud of and one negative thought you successfully reframed. This practice not only tracks your progress but also strengthens your commitment to maintaining a healthier inner dialogue. Moving forward, building a balanced mindset. CBT is about more than just changing thoughts. It's about creating a balanced mindset that allows you to navigate life with confidence and self-compassion. Your inner critic thrives on unchecked assumptions, but by systematically challenging and reframing those assumptions, you reclaim control over your mental landscape. As you continue to practice these techniques, remember that change takes time. There will be moments when the critic sneaks back in, but each time you challenge it, you weaken its hold. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. You're building a new relationship with your mind, one that acknowledges your worth, embraces your imperfections, and empowers you to live without the constant burden of self-criticism. CBT equips you with the skills to rewrite your inner narrative, turning a once relentless critic into a quieter, more manageable voice. With each thought challenged and reframed, you take another step toward a life free from the grip of social anxiety and full of the self-assurance that you've always deserved. Chapter 5. Self-compassion, the antidote to self-criticism. After delving into the mechanics of cognitive behavioral therapy and reframing your thoughts, it's time to explore a deeper and perhaps more challenging aspect of quieting the inner critic: self-compassion. For many, the concept of being kind to oneself feels foreign, even uncomfortable. Yet, self-compassion is one of the most powerful tools in silencing the inner critic because it directly counters the harshness of self-judgment with understanding, acceptance, and kindness. Self-compassion isn't about letting yourself off the hook or ignoring your flaws. It's about responding to your imperfections and mistakes with the same warmth and understanding you would offer a friend. Instead of letting your inner critic berate you for every misstep, self-compassion invites you to acknowledge your humanity, embrace your imperfections, and move forward with a sense of kindness rather than condemnation. This chapter will guide you through the principles of self-compassion, why it's so effective against the inner critic, and practical exercises to help you cultivate a more compassionate relationship with yourself. As you will discover, self-compassion doesn't just quiet the critic, it transforms it into a supportive inner voice that helps you navigate life's challenges with resilience and grace. Understanding self-compassion and its benefits. Self-compassion is the practice of treating yourself with the same care, understanding, and patience that you would extend to someone you love. According to psychologist Dr. Kristen Neff, who pioneered the study of self-compassion, this practice has three core components: self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness. Together, these elements create a powerful antidote to self-criticism. Self-kindness versus self-judgment. The first element of self-compassion is self-kindness, which involves being gentle and understanding with yourself rather than harshly critical. When you make a mistake or fall short of your expectations, self-kindness asks you to respond with warmth instead of condemnation. Imagine how you would comfort a friend who is struggling. Self-kindness means offering that same comfort to yourself. Self-kindness doesn't mean ignoring your mistakes or refusing to take responsibility. Rather, it's about acknowledging that making mistakes is a natural part of being human. Instead of saying, "I'm such a failure," you might say, "I messed up, but I'm learning, and that's okay." This shift in tone changes the emotional landscape from one of shame to one of acceptance. Common humanity versus isolation. The second component of self-compassion is recognizing your common humanity, the understanding that everyone makes mistakes, experiences failure, and feels inadequate at times. The inner critic often thrives on the belief that you're uniquely flawed, that your struggles set you apart from everyone else. But the truth is, imperfection is a shared human experience. By reminding yourself that you're not alone in your struggles, you dissolve the critic's narrative of isolation. Instead of thinking, "I'm the only one who can't handle this," you can reframe it as, "Everyone feels this way sometimes." This perspective helps you connect with others on a deeper level, reducing the sense of loneliness that often accompanies self-criticism. Mindfulness versus over-identification. The final component of self-compassion is mindfulness, being aware of your thoughts and feelings without becoming overwhelmed by them. Mindfulness allows you to observe your inner critic without fully identifying with it. Instead of getting lost in the critic's narrative, you acknowledge its presence without letting it define you. Mindfulness creates a mental space where you can choose how to respond to your thoughts rather than reacting impulsively. This detachment helps you see your self-critical thoughts as just that, thoughts, not facts. By practicing mindfulness, you gain the clarity to respond to yourself with compassion rather than allowing the critic to dominate your self-perception. Exercises to cultivate self-kindness. Building self-compassion requires practice, especially if you're used to being hard on yourself. Here are some exercises designed to help you develop self-kindness and quiet your inner critic. 1. The self-compassion break. The self-compassion break is a quick, effective exercise you can use whenever you notice your inner critic taking over. When you catch yourself engaging in self-criticism, pause and take a moment to offer yourself compassion. Acknowledge the pain. Start by acknowledging that you're experiencing a difficult moment. You might say to yourself, "This is really hard right now," or "I'm feeling overwhelmed." Recognize common humanity. Remind yourself that you're not alone. Say something like, "Everyone struggles at times," or "It's normal to feel this way." Offer kindness. Bless on your heart. Take a deep breath and speak to yourself with kindness. Say, "May I be kind to myself in this moment," or "I'm doing the best I can, and that's enough." This exercise doesn't take long, but it can profoundly shift your emotional state from self-criticism to self-compassion. It reminds you that you deserve kindness, especially when you're struggling. Do it rewriting the self-critical narrative. Another powerful exercise is to rewrite your inner critic essay narrative in a more compassionate voice. When you notice a self-critical thought, write it down and then rewrite it as if you were speaking to a dear friend. For example, if your critic says, "I can't believe I messed that up, I'm so stupid," you might rewrite it as, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't make me stupid. I'm learning, and I'll try again." This practice helps you shift from judgment to understanding, retraining your mind to respond with compassion. 3. Self-compassion letter. Write a letter to yourself from the perspective of a compassionate friend or mentor. In this letter, acknowledge your struggles, validate your feelings, and offer words of encouragement. Don't shy away from expressing empathy for your pain, but also remind yourself of your strengths and resilience. Reading this letter whenever your inner critic is loud can serve as a powerful reminder of your worth. It's a way to externalize self-compassion, making it feel more tangible and accessible when you need it most. Practicing self-forgiveness and letting go. One of the greatest challenges in developing self-compassion is the act of self-forgiveness, letting go of past mistakes and releasing the guilt and shame that accompany them. Your inner critic loves to dwell on past errors, replaying them in vivid detail as proof of your inadequacy. But the self-compassion invites you to forgive yourself, recognizing that you did the best you could with the knowledge and resources you had at the time. Self-forgiveness is not about excusing harmful behavior. It's about acknowledging your humanity and committing to learn and grow from your experiences. It's the practice of saying, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't make me a bad person. I am worthy of forgiveness and compassion." To practice self-forgiveness, start by acknowledging the mistake and the emotions it brings up. Write down what happened, how it made you feel, and what you've learned from it. Then, offer yourself forgiveness. You might say, "I forgive myself for not being perfect. I'm learning, and I will continue to grow." This act of forgiveness doesn't erase the past, but it frees you from the critic essay relentless grip, allowing you to move forward with a lighter heart. The power of positive affirmations. Positive affirmations are short, powerful statements that reinforce self-compassionate thinking. They act as counterweights to the negative messages of your inner critic, reminding you of your inherent worth and resilience. Unlike hollow platitudes, affirmations are most effective when they reflect truths you genuinely want to internalize, even if they don't feel entirely believable at first. How to create and use affirmations that resonate. 1. Craft personal affirmations. Your affirmations should speak directly to your struggles and strengths. For instance, if your critic often tells you that you're unworthy of love, an affirmation like "I am worthy of love and belonging" directly counters that narrative. Write down affirmations that feel meaningful, and keep them visible on your mirror, your phone, or your workspace. 2. Repeat them regularly. Affirmations work best when repeated consistently. Incorporate them into your daily routine, such as during your morning routine or right before bed. The more you repeat these compassionate statements, the more they become ingrained in your thinking. 3. Say them out loud. Speaking affirmations aloud reinforces their power. Hearing your own voice affirm positive messages creates a deeper emotional connection, helping to rewire your inner dialogue over time. 4. Use affirmations in challenging moments. When you're feeling anxious or self-critical, pause and repeat your affirmations. This practice grounds you in compassion, disrupting the critic essay narrative and reminding you of your value. Moving forward, embracing self-compassion as a daily practice. Developing self-compassion is not a one-time fix. It's a daily commitment to treat yourself with kindness, especially in moments of struggle. It's about learning to quiet the inner critic not through force but through understanding, patience, and empathy. Self-compassion shifts the focus from perfection to progress, from self-judgment to self-acceptance. As you continue this journey, remember that self-compassion isn't about ignoring your flaws, it's about embracing them as part of your unique, imperfect humanity. The more you practice self-compassion, the quieter your inner critic will become, replaced by a nurturing voice that supports you through life's ups and downs. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but with each act of kindness toward yourself, you're rewriting the narrative of who you are. You're building a new relationship with yourself, one that recognizes your worth, celebrates your strengths, and forgives your missteps. The power of self-compassion lies in its simplicity. You are worthy of the same love and kindness you so readily offer to others. And that truth, more than anything, has the potential to quiet even the loudest inner critic. Chapter 6, Visualization Techniques to Build a Positive Self-Image. Visualization is a powerful tool that harnesses the mind's ability to create vivid mental images, shaping your perception of yourself and the world around you. When used effectively, visualization can help quiet your inner critic by replacing negative self-images with empowering and positive ones. The inner critic often thrives on distorted perceptions, seeing yourself as inadequate, awkward, or incapable. Visualization techniques provide a way to rewrite these perceptions, building a self-image that is confident, capable, and resilient. This chapter will explore the science behind visualization, how it influences your self-perception, and practical visualization techniques you can use to build a positive self-image. Visualization isn't just about daydreaming, it's about training your brain to see possibilities rather than limitations, and transforming your self-concept from one dominated by the critic to one enriched with self-belief. The science behind visualization, how your brain shapes reality. Visualization, also known as mental imagery or mental rehearsal, involves creating a detailed mental picture of a desired outcome or scenario. Athletes, performers, and successful individuals across various fields have long used visualization to enhance their performance, prepare for challenges, and build confidence. But visualization isn't just for elite performers, it's a tool that anyone can use to cultivate a more positive self-image and counteract the inner critic's negativity. The effectiveness of visualization lies in how the brain processes imagined experiences. When you vividly imagine an action or scenario, your brain activates many of the same neural pathways as it would during the actual experience. In other words, your brain doesn't fully distinguish between a real event and an imagined one, especially when the visualization is vivid and detailed. This neural activation helps reinforce the behaviors, emotions, and responses you want to cultivate, essentially training your brain to respond more positively in real situations. For example, if your inner critic often tells you that you're awkward in social situations, your brain may reinforce this belief by repeatedly imagining past embarrassing moments. Visualization allows you to counteract this cycle by consciously creating mental images of yourself navigating social situations with ease, confidence, and grace. Over time, these positive mental rehearsals help reshape your self-perception, weakening the critic's influence, creating a positive mental picture of yourself. To harness the power of visualization, it's crucial to create vivid, detailed mental images that reflect how you want to see yourself, rather than how your inner critic portrays you. This process involves imagining not just the outcomes you desire but also the feelings, behaviors, and attitudes that align with a more positive self-image. Step 1. Define your desired self-image. Before you can start visualizing, it's important to define what a positive self-image looks like for you. Think about how you would like to feel in social situations, how you'd like to carry yourself, and what kind of energy you want to project. Do you want to feel confident, calm, and engaged? Do you want to be seen as approachable, articulate, or charismatic? Your visualization should be tailored to these personal aspirations. Start by writing down a description of your ideal self in various situations that trigger your inner critic. For example, if you struggle with public speaking, describe yourself standing confidently, speaking clearly, and engaging with your audience. The more specific you are, the more effective your visualization will be. Step 2. Engage all your senses. Effective visualization goes beyond just seeing images in your mind. It involves engaging all your senses to create a full, immersive experience. When you visualize, try to imagine what you would see, hear, feel, and even smell in the scenario. This sensory detail helps anchor the experience in your brain, making it feel more real and impactful. For instance, if you're visualizing yourself at a social gathering, imagine the sounds of conversation and laughter around you, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the warmth of a drink in your hand, and the expressions of people as they respond positively to your presence. The goal is to create a rich, multisensory mental experience that reinforces the positive emotions you want to feel. Step 3. Visualize success, not perfection. One of the common traps of visualization is striving for a flawless mental image, which can inadvertently trigger perfectionist tendencies and fuel the inner critic. Instead, focus on visualizing success in a realistic, achievable way. See yourself handling situations with confidence, but also with the understanding that you don't need to be perfect. Visualize yourself responding calmly to minor hiccups, like forgetting a word or needing a moment to gather your thoughts, and bouncing back with grace. This approach reinforces resilience and adaptability, helping you internalize the belief that you can handle challenges without falling apart. Remember, the goal of visualization is not to create an unattainable ideal but to mentally rehearse being your best, most authentic self in a variety of scenarios. Guided imagery for overcoming social fear. Guided imagery is a specific form of visualization that uses mental prompts or scripts to guide you through positive scenarios, often with the help of a therapist, coach, or self-guided recording. This technique is particularly useful for overcoming social anxiety because it provides a structured way to practice facing feared situations in the safety of your mind before encountering them in real life. 1. Safe place visualization. One of the foundational exercises in guided imagery is creating a safe place in your mind, a mental sanctuary where you feel completely calm, secure, and at ease. This place can be real or imagined, a serene beach, a cozy room, a lush forest, or any setting that brings you a sense of peace. To practice this, close your eyes and take a few deep breaths. Imagine yourself in your safe place, paying attention to the details, the colors, the textures, the sounds, and the sensations. Let yourself fully relax in this environment, absorbing the calm it offers. When you feel anxious or overwhelmed, return to this safe place in your mind to center yourself and regain your sense of calm. 2. The confident self-visualization. Another powerful guided imagery exercise is visualizing your confident self. In this exercise, you create a detailed mental image of yourself as the most confident, self-assured version of who you are. Picture how you look, how you move, and how you interact with others. Notice the expressions on your face, the tone of your voice, and the energy you project. As you visualize, imagine stepping into this version of yourself as if you're putting on a new outfit. Feel the confidence flowing through you, the sense of ease in your body, and the clarity in your thoughts. Practice this visualization regularly, especially before social events or challenging situations, to activate this confident self and bring that energy into real-life interactions. 3. Future self-visualization. Future self-visualization involves imagining yourself a few months or years from now, having successfully quieted your inner critic and grown into a more self-assured version of yourself. This future self has navigated challenges, built resilience, and developed a positive self-image. During this visualization, imagine having a conversation with your future self. Ask what advice they would give you, what they've learned, and how they overcame the obstacles you are currently facing. This exercise not only boosts motivation but also provides a sense of direction and purpose, reinforcing the belief that growth is possible and within your reach. Visualization exercises to practice daily. To make visualization a consistent part of your routine, it's helpful to incorporate short, manageable exercises that you can practice daily. These exercises don't require a lot of time, but their cumulative effect can significantly shift your self-image and quiet your inner critic. 1. Morning visualization routine. Start your day with a brief visualization session. Spend 5 minutes visualizing how you want your day to unfold, focusing on how you want to feel, behave, and interact with others. Picture yourself moving through your tasks with confidence, handling challenges with grace, and ending the day feeling accomplished. This morning practice sets a positive tone and primes your mind to approach the day with self-assurance. 2. Visualization before social interactions. Before entering a social situation that triggers anxiety, take a few moments to visualize the interaction going well. See yourself feeling relaxed, speaking clearly, and engaging comfortably with others. Imagine any potential challenges being easily managed, like handling a lull in conversation or navigating small talk. This preemptive visualization helps reduce anxiety and prepares your mind to respond positively in real time. 3. Evening reflection visualization. End your day with a reflective visualization where you mentally revisit the day's events from a compassionate perspective. If your inner critic fixates on something that went wrong, use visualization to reframe it in a more positive light. Imagine how you would like to have handled the situation, not to dwell on mistakes but to reinforce your ability to grow and adapt. This evening practice helps you wind down with a sense of closure and self-kindness. Visualization exercises to practice daily. Visualization is a skill that improves with practice. Here are some visualization exercises to help you integrate this powerful tool into your daily life. 1. Morning visualization routine. Start your day with a brief visualization session. Spend 5 minutes imagining how you want your day to unfold, focusing on how you want to feel, behave, and interact with others. Picture yourself moving through your tasks with confidence, handling challenges with grace, and ending the day feeling accomplished. This morning practice sets a positive tone and primes your mind to approach the day with self-assurance. 2. Visualization before social interactions. Before entering a social situation that triggers anxiety, take a few moments to visualize the interaction going well. See yourself feeling relaxed, speaking clearly, and engaging comfortably with others. Imagine any potential challenges being easily managed, like handling a lull in conversation or navigating small talk. This preemptive visualization helps reduce anxiety and prepares your mind to respond positively in real time. 3. Evening reflection visualization. End your day with a reflective visualization where you mentally revisit the day's events from a compassionate perspective. If your inner critic fixates on something that went wrong, use visualization to reframe it in a more positive light. Imagine how you would like to have handled the situation, not to dwell on mistakes but to reinforce your ability to grow and adapt. This evening practice helps you wind down with a sense of closure and self-kindness. Moving forward, making visualization a habit. Visualization is not a magic fix, but it's a powerful tool that, when practiced consistently, can lead to significant changes in how you perceive yourself and your abilities. The more you engage in positive mental imagery, the more you train your brain to prioritize these empowering narratives over the critical ones. Remember that the goal of visualization isn't to create a perfect version of yourself. It's to help you build a realistic, confident self-image that supports you rather than undermines you. Visualization helps you see not just who you are, but who you can become, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of growth, resilience, and self-acceptance. As you continue to practice visualization, you will find that your inner critic's voice grows quieter, replaced by a more constructive, compassionate, and confident inner dialogue. With time, visualization will become a natural part of your mental toolkit, one that empowers you to face challenges with a positive self-image and the quiet assurance that you are more than enough. Chapter 7. Exposure Therapy, Facing Social Fears Head-On. Exposure therapy is one of the most powerful and proven techniques for overcoming social anxiety and quieting the inner critic. While it might sound daunting, exposure therapy is about gradually confronting your fears in a controlled and systematic way, allowing you to build resilience and confidence over time. The inner critic often thrives in the shadows of avoidance, reinforcing negative beliefs about your ability to handle social situations. Exposure therapy shines a light on these fears, demonstrating that you are far more capable than your inner critic would have you believe. In this chapter, we will explore the principles behind exposure therapy, how it works to dismantle anxiety, and practical steps to implement exposure techniques in your daily life. The goal is to face your fears, not in a way that overwhelms or traumatizes you, but in a gradual, manageable process that strengthens your ability to cope and thrive in social environments. Understanding exposure therapy, the science of facing fears. Exposure therapy is based on the principle that avoidance maintains and strengthens anxiety. When you avoid a feared situation, your brain never gets the chance to learn that the danger you perceive isn't real or that you are capable of handling the discomfort. This avoidance creates a cycle where the fear grows stronger each time you dodge an anxiety-inducing situation. Exposure therapy breaks this cycle by encouraging you to face your fears in a controlled and systematic manner, proving to your brain that you can handle the discomfort without catastrophic consequences. The power of exposure therapy lies in a psychological process called habituation. Habituation occurs when repeated exposure to a feared stimulus reduces the intensity of your emotional response. Think of it like adjusting to cold water. When swimming, you might initially feel a shock, but as you remain in the water, your body acclimates, and the cold becomes more bearable. Similarly, as you repeatedly face your social fears, your anxiety gradually diminishes, and what once felt impossible becomes manageable. Another key mechanism is extinction learning, where you unlearn the association between the feared situation and the intense anxiety it provokes. Over time, exposure helps your brain recognize that the outcomes your inner critic predicted, judgment, rejection, humiliation, are unlikely to occur, or, if they do, they are not as devastating as you imagined. Gradual exposure, building a hierarchy of fears. The most effective approach to exposure therapy is gradual exposure, where you create a hierarchy of feared situations, ranked from least to most anxiety-provoking. This hierarchy serves as your roadmap, guiding you through exposure exercises that start small and progressively build toward your more challenging fears. The key is to move at your own pace, allowing yourself to acclimate to each level of exposure before advancing to the next. Step 1. Identify your triggers. Begin by identifying the specific social situations that trigger your anxiety. These triggers might include attending a party, speaking in front of a group, making small talk with strangers, or even something as simple as making eye contact. Write down each situation that activates your inner critic, no matter how small or insignificant it might seem. The more detailed you are, the better prepared you'll be for exposure. Step 2. Rank your fears. Once you have a comprehensive list of triggers, rank them from least to most anxiety-inducing on a scale of 1 to 10. With 1 being mildly uncomfortable and 10 being intensely fear-provoking. For example, making eye contact might be a 2, while giving a speech might be a 9 or 10. This ranking helps you prioritize your exposure exercises, starting with the situations that feel manageable and gradually working your way up. Step 3. Create an exposure plan. With your hierarchy in place, create a step-by-step exposure plan that outlines how you will face each fear, starting with the least anxiety-inducing situations. For instance, if making small talk with a stranger is a 3, your plan might involve starting with brief interactions, like greeting a cashier, before progressing to longer conversations. The goal is to build confidence and resilience gradually, reinforcing the belief that you can handle each situation as it arises. Practical exposure exercises to build social confidence. To help you get started, here are some practical exposure exercises tailored to common social fears. Each exercise is designed to be approached incrementally, allowing you to build your tolerance and comfort level over time. 1. Eye contact exposure. Many people with social anxiety struggle with making eye contact, fearing that it invites judgment or scrutiny. To practice, start by making brief eye contact with people in low-stakes situations, like passing someone on the street or speaking with a barista. Gradually increase the duration of eye contact, allowing yourself to become more comfortable with this form of nonverbal communication. Remember, it's okay to feel awkward at first. The goal is to practice and desensitize yourself to the discomfort. 2. Small talk with strangers. Small talk can feel intimidating, especially if your inner critic tells you that you'll say something wrong or appear foolish. Begin by initiating simple interactions in everyday situations. Comment on the weather to a neighbor, ask a quick question in a store, or compliment someone's outfit. These brief exchanges build your confidence and help you see that most people are receptive and friendly. As you become more comfortable, challenge yourself to extend the conversation by asking follow-up questions or sharing something about yourself. The more you practice, the more natural small talk will feel, quieting the critic's insistence that you're incapable of engaging with others. 3. Assertiveness training. For those who struggle with speaking up or setting boundaries, assertiveness training can be an essential form of exposure. Start by practicing assertive communication in low-pressure situations, like expressing a preference when asked what you'd like for dinner or politely declining a small request. Gradually build up to more challenging scenarios, such as advocating for yourself in group discussions or expressing your needs in relationships. The key to assertiveness training is to focus on clear, respectful communication without overthinking the potential outcomes. Each time you assert yourself, you reinforce your ability to stand up to the inner critic's doubts and affirm your right to have a voice. 4. Role-playing and simulations. Role-playing allows you to practice challenging social situations in a safe, controlled environment before facing them in real life. You can do this with a friend, a therapist, or even on your own by imagining different scenarios and practicing your responses. For example, if you have a job interview coming up, practice answering common questions, making eye contact, and maintaining a calm demeanor. Simulations help you rehearse your behavior and responses, giving you the confidence to face the real situation with less anxiety. The more familiar you become with these scenarios, the less power they hold over you, helping to quiet the inner critic that insists you're unprepared. 5. Gradual exposure to public speaking. Public speaking is one of the most common social fears, often magnified by the inner critic's harsh predictions of failure and embarrassment. To practice exposure, start with low-pressure speaking opportunities, such as sharing an idea in a small group, reading aloud in a safe space, or practicing in front of a mirror. As you build confidence, seek out slightly more challenging opportunities, like speaking in front of a trusted friend or joining a public speaking group. Each successful experience helps chip away at the fear, proving to your inner critic that you are capable of speaking confidently and effectively. Managing anxiety during exposure, coping strategies. Exposure exercises are designed to be challenging, but they shouldn't be overwhelming. To manage anxiety during exposure, it's important to equip yourself with coping strategies that help you stay grounded and resilient in the moment. 1. Controlled breathing. One of the most effective ways to manage anxiety is through controlled breathing techniques. When anxiety strikes, your body's fight or flight response can make your breathing shallow and rapid, which only heightens your sense of panic. Slow, deep breathing helps activate your body's relaxation response, reducing the intensity of your anxiety. Practice breathing in slowly through your nose for a count of 4, holding for a count of 4, and exhaling through your mouth for a count of 6. This simple technique can be used discreetly during exposure exercises, helping you stay calm and focused. 2. Self-soothing statements. As you engage in exposure, it's normal for your inner critic to rear its head, offering a running commentary of doubts and fears. To counter this, prepare self-soothing statements that you can repeat to yourself when anxiety spikes. Phrases like "I am safe, I can handle this," and "it's okay to feel anxious" can help ground you in the moment, providing reassurance that you are capable of facing your fears. These statements act as a gentle reminder that anxiety is temporary and that you have the strength to push through it. The more you practice self-soothing, the more automatic these compassionate responses will become, gradually drowning out the critic's voice. 3. Visualization of success. Before engaging in exposure, spend a few moments visualizing yourself successfully navigating the situation. Imagine yourself feeling calm, confident, and composed. Picture yourself handling any potential challenges with ease and grace. This mental rehearsal primes your brain for success, boosting your confidence and reducing the critic's influence. Visualization is particularly effective when combined with exposure, as it helps reinforce positive outcomes and counters the critic's negative predictions. By repeatedly imagining success, you train your mind to expect and strive for positive experiences. Moving forward, embracing exposure as a path to growth. Exposure therapy is a courageous journey that requires patience, persistence, and self-compassion. It's natural to feel hesitant, nervous, or even resistant to the idea of facing your fears, but remember that each step you take, no matter how small, weakens the hold of your inner critic. Exposure is not about eliminating anxiety altogether, but about learning to live with it in a way that empowers rather than paralyzes you. As you continue to work through your exposure hierarchy, celebrate each victory, no matter how minor it might seem. Every conversation, every act of assertiveness, and every moment of eye contact is a testament to your progress and resilience. The goal is not to become fearless, but to build the confidence and skills to navigate your fears with strength and poise. Remember, your inner critic thrives on avoidance, but each act of exposure serves as a powerful rebuttal to its limiting beliefs. By facing your fears head-on, you are reclaiming your power, rewriting your narrative, and building a life that reflects your true potential. With time and practice, the situations that once filled you with dread will become opportunities for connection, growth, and self-expression. Your journey through exposure is a journey toward freedom, a freedom from the grip of anxiety and the relentless voice of the inner critic. Chapter 8: Building Emotional Resilience to Silence the Critic. Emotional resilience is the ability to adapt to adversity, manage stress, and bounce back from challenges with a sense of confidence and inner strength. It's not about avoiding difficulties but learning to navigate them without being overwhelmed. When it comes to quieting your inner critic, emotional resilience plays a crucial role. It equips you with the tools to withstand self-criticism, maintain perspective, and keep moving forward even when things go wrong. The inner critic often capitalizes on moments of vulnerability, using failures, setbacks, or perceived flaws as ammunition. However, building emotional resilience helps you respond to these moments with grace rather than harsh self-judgment. This chapter will explore how to develop emotional resilience through practical strategies, self-reflection, and mindset shifts that fortify your mental and emotional well-being. By strengthening your resilience, you'll learn not only to quiet your inner critic but to transform it into a less influential, more constructive voice. Understanding emotional resilience, more than just bouncing back. Emotional resilience is often misunderstood as merely bouncing back from setbacks, but it's much deeper than that. True resilience involves a proactive approach to adversity, where you not only recover from difficulties but also grow stronger as a result. It's about embracing challenges as opportunities for learning, maintaining a sense of optimism in the face of uncertainty, and developing coping mechanisms that allow you to navigate life's ups and downs with balance. Resilience doesn't mean you won't experience stress, anxiety, or self-doubt. In fact, resilient people still face all these emotions, but they've developed skills to manage them effectively. Emotional resilience is built through conscious effort and practice. It's about cultivating habits and mindsets that help you withstand life's inevitable storms without losing your sense of self-worth. One of the core aspects of resilience is the ability to reframe adversity. Instead of seeing failures as definitive proof of inadequacy fuel for the inner critic, resilient individuals view them as temporary setbacks that provide valuable lessons. This mindset shift weakens the critic's narrative of hopelessness, replacing it with a more balanced perspective that acknowledges both strengths and areas for growth. Technique to strengthen emotional resilience. Building emotional resilience is like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it becomes. Below are key techniques that will help you cultivate resilience, empowering you to handle self-criticism and life's challenges with greater ease and confidence. 1. Cultivating a growth mindset. A growth mindset, a concept popularized by psychologist Carol Dweck, is the belief that your abilities and intelligence can be developed through effort, learning, and persistence. This contrasts with a fixed mindset, where you believe your talents and capabilities are set in stone and that failure is a direct reflection of your limitations. A growth mindset transforms how you perceive setbacks, turning them from threats to opportunities. Instead of thinking, "I failed because I'm not good enough," a growth mindset reframes the experience as, "I didn't succeed this time, but I can learn from this and improve." This shift in perspective quiets the inner critic by countering its rigid, all-or-nothing thinking with a more flexible, forgiving approach. To foster a growth mindset, start by paying attention to your self-talk, especially when facing challenges. When you notice critical thoughts, consciously reframe them in a way that emphasizes effort, learning, and growth. For example, replace "I'll never be good at this week, I'm still learning, and every attempt helps me get better." Over time, this practice helps you build resilience against the critic's negativity. 2. Developing healthy coping mechanisms. Resilience isn't about eliminating stress, it's about managing it effectively. Developing healthy coping mechanisms allows you to navigate difficult emotions without resorting to avoidance or self-destructive behaviors, which often feed the inner critic. Healthy coping strategies include mindfulness, journaling, exercise, creative expression, and connecting with others. These activities provide a constructive outlet for processing emotions, helping you to release tension and maintain perspective. When your inner critic tries to amplify stress or anxiety, engaging in these practices can ground you, providing a sense of control and stability. 3. Practicing emotional regulation. Emotional regulation is the ability to manage and respond to your emotions in a healthy way. It involves recognizing your emotional state, understanding its triggers, and choosing how to express or manage those feelings. The inner critic often thrives when emotions run high, using your heightened state of fear, anger, or sadness as an opportunity to reinforce negative beliefs. To improve emotional regulation, practice mindfulness techniques that help you observe your emotions without judgment. Techniques such as deep breathing, body scans, and progressive muscle relaxation can help you calm your body's stress response, creating space between your emotions and your reactions. By gaining control over your emotional responses, you're less likely to be swayed by the critic's narrative during moments of vulnerability. 4. Setting realistic expectations and boundaries. The inner critic often feeds on perfectionism, unrealistic expectations, and overcommitting. By setting realistic goals and establishing healthy boundaries, you protect yourself from burnout and self-criticism. Learn to prioritize tasks, say no when necessary, and allow yourself the grace to make mistakes without harsh self-judgment. When you set achievable goals, you build a sense of accomplishment that bolsters your resilience. Boundaries help you maintain balance, preventing the critic from using overextension or failure to meet impossible standards as evidence of inadequacy. Remember, resilience isn't about doing everything, It's about knowing your limits and respecting them. 5. Building a support network. Emotional resilience is not a solo endeavor. It's greatly strengthened by the presence of a supportive community. Surrounding yourself with people who encourage, understand, and uplift you provides a buffer against the inner critic. Supportive friends, family, and mentors can offer perspective when you're caught in self-doubt, reminding you of your worth when you're unable to see it yourself. Don't hesitate to seek support when needed, whether through professional help, such as therapy or coaching, or by reaching out to loved ones. Sharing your struggles with others doesn't make you weak, it makes you human. Connection fosters resilience by providing the emotional resources you need to weather difficult times, making it easier to keep the critic at bay. How to bounce back from social missteps. Social situations are fertile ground for the inner critic, especially when things don't go as planned. A misplaced comment, an awkward pause, or a perceived snub can quickly spiral into a barrage of self-criticism. Resilient individuals, however, understand that social missteps are part of the human experience and don't define their worth. 1. Reframe social errors as learning opportunities. When a social interaction doesn't go the way you hoped, resist the urge to ruminate on what went wrong. Instead, approach the situation with curiosity. What can you learn from this? Did you misread the room, struggle to articulate your thoughts, or simply have an off day? Viewing mistakes as learning opportunities rather than failures shifts your focus from self-blame to self-improvement. For example, if you feel you were too quiet in a meeting, rather than thinking, "I'm terrible at speaking up," try reframing it as, "Next time." I'll prepare a few points in advance to feel more confident. This approach helps you move forward with a sense of purpose rather than lingering in self-reproach. 2. Normalize imperfection in social interactions. It's important to remember that everyone experiences awkward moments, forgets what they were going to say, or misjudges social cues from time to time. When your inner critic insists that everyone noticed your slip-up, remind yourself that others are often too focused on their own experiences to dwell on yours. Normalizing these imperfections reduces their emotional weight, making it easier to bounce back and engage with confidence. 3. Practice self-compassionate reflection. After a difficult social interaction, practice self-compassionate reflection rather than harsh self-evaluation. Reflect on what happened without assigning blame, and consider what you might do differently in the future. This approach fosters resilience by allowing you to learn and grow without the emotional burden of self-criticism. If your critic is particularly vocal, counter its narrative by listing 3 things you did well, no matter how small. Maybe you maintained eye contact, asked a thoughtful question, or simply showed up despite your anxiety. Acknowledging these positive aspects helps create a more balanced view, reinforcing your resilience against the critic's harsh voice. Developing a growth-oriented narrative, rewriting your story. One of the most powerful ways to build resilience is to consciously rewrite your internal narrative. The inner critic often tells a story of inadequacy, failure, and unworthiness, but you have the power to change that script. Developing a growth-oriented narrative involves recognizing your challenges as part of a larger journey, where each obstacle is a stepping stone to greater self-understanding and capability. Start by reflecting on your past experiences and identify moments when you've overcome adversity, learned something valuable, or demonstrated strength. Write down these moments as part of your personal story, highlighting how they've contributed to the person you are today. This exercise helps you see yourself not as a collection of flaws but as a resilient individual who continually evolves and grows. Next, set future intentions based on this growth mindset. Rather than defining yourself by your past mistakes, define yourself by your potential and the positive changes you're working toward. This narrative shift quiets the critic by emphasizing possibility over limitation, fostering a sense of hope and self-belief. Moving forward, embracing resilience as a lifelong practice. Building emotional resilience is not about becoming impervious to hardship. It's about cultivating the strength to meet challenges with courage, adaptability, and self-compassion. Resilience empowers you to navigate life's inevitable ups and downs without succumbing to the critic's narrative of defeat. It's about learning to stand firm in the face of adversity, knowing that every setback is an opportunity to build greater inner strength. As you continue to practice the techniques outlined in this chapter, remember that resilience is a skill that grows over time. Each moment you choose self-compassion over self-criticism, each time you reframe a failure as a learning experience, And each instance where you reach out for support instead of retreating into isolation, you are strengthening your emotional foundation. The journey to quieting your inner critic is not about eliminating self-doubt entirely but about reducing its impact and reclaiming your mental space. By building resilience, you create a buffer against the critic's harshness, allowing you to live with greater confidence, authenticity, and peace. Embrace resilience as a daily practice, and watch as your inner critic's voice grows quieter, replaced by a steadfast belief in your ability to handle whatever comes your way. Chapter 9, Replacing the Critic with a Supportive Inner Voice. Quieting your inner critic is not just about silencing negativity, it's about nurturing a new, supportive inner voice that uplifts, encourages, and guides you through life's challenges. This new voice doesn't deny your imperfections but speaks to you with kindness, understanding, and a focus on growth rather than judgment. By actively cultivating this supportive inner dialogue, you can transform your internal landscape, making your mind a source of motivation rather than self-sabotage. In this chapter, we will explore the steps to replace your inner critic with a compassionate, constructive voice. You will learn practical techniques to develop self-affirmation, practice gratitude, and establish positive internal dialogue habits that foster resilience and self-belief. The goal is not to ignore flaws but to build a balanced, realistic narrative that empowers you to take on challenges without the weight of constant self-criticism. Understanding the power of self-talk, how your inner dialogue shapes reality. Self-talk is the ongoing dialogue that takes place in your mind, an internal commentary on everything you do, think, and experience. This self-talk shapes how you perceive yourself and the world around you. When dominated by the inner critic, this dialogue can be harsh, negative, and overly critical, leading to feelings of inadequacy, anxiety, and low self-esteem. But when you consciously cultivate a supportive inner voice, your self-talk becomes a powerful tool for building confidence, encouraging perseverance, and fostering a sense of inner peace. The first step in replacing your inner critic is recognizing the impact of your self-talk. Every time you criticize yourself for a mistake, second-guess a decision, or belittle your abilities, you reinforce a narrative that limits your potential. Conversely, when you speak to yourself with kindness, acknowledge your efforts, and encourage resilience, you create a positive feedback loop that reinforces your strengths and nurtures your growth. The language you use with yourself matters. Simple shifts in phrasing can dramatically alter how you feel and respond to challenges. For example, changing "I can't do this" to "I'm learning how to do this" reframes the situation from a statement of defeat to one of possibility. The goal is to rewire your inner dialogue, replacing automatic negative responses with supportive, constructive ones that reflect your true worth and capabilities. Techniques to develop a positive internal dialogue. Building a supportive inner voice takes practice, especially if you've spent years listening to your inner critic. Below are techniques designed to help you foster positive self-talk, nurturing a kinder, more constructive relationship with yourself. 1. Identify and challenge negative self-talk. The first step in developing a supportive inner voice is identifying when your self-talk turns negative. This requires mindfulness and self-awareness, as critical thoughts often arise automatically and go unnoticed. Start by paying attention to how you speak to yourself, especially in moments of stress, failure, or uncertainty. Notice the specific words and phrases your critic uses. Are they harsh, judgmental, or dismissive? Once you've identified negative self-talk, challenge its validity. Ask yourself, is this thought based on facts, or is it an exaggerated response rooted in fear or past experiences? Would you speak to a friend the way you're speaking to yourself? By questioning the truth of your critic's statements, you create space for a more balanced and supportive perspective. For example, if you catch yourself thinking, "I'm so stupid for making that mistake," reframe it as, "I made a mistake, but that doesn't define my intelligence or worth. I can learn from this and do better next time." This process of identifying, challenging, and reframing helps shift your internal narrative from one of condemnation to one of compassion and growth. 2. Practice daily affirmations. Positive affirmations are short, powerful statements that reinforce supportive self-talk. They act as counterweights to the critic's negative messages, reminding you of your strengths, values, and potential. While affirmations might feel awkward or forced at first, they are highly effective in retraining your brain to adopt a more positive inner dialogue. To create meaningful affirmations, focus on areas where your inner critic is most vocal. If you struggle with self-doubt, affirmations like I am capable and worthy of success or I trust myself to make good decisions can be powerful. If you battle with perfectionism, Irmici, it's okay to make mistakes, they are part of my growth or I am enough, just as I am. Repeat your affirmations daily, ideally at times when you're most receptive, such as in the morning or before bed. Say them out loud, write them down, or place them where you will see them regularly, like on your mirror or phone background. The more you repeat these positive statements, the more they become ingrained in your thinking, gradually replacing the critic's negative narrative. 3. Cultivate gratitude for yourself. Gratitude is a transformative practice that shifts your focus from what's wrong to what's right. While gratitude is often directed outward toward others, experiences, or life's blessings, it's equally important to cultivate gratitude for yourself. Recognizing your efforts, acknowledging your achievements, and appreciating your resilience helps nurture a supportive inner voice that sees you in a positive light. Start by keeping a self-gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you appreciate about yourself. They can be big or small: completing a task, handling a tough conversation, showing kindness to someone, or simply getting through a challenging day. The act of recognizing these moments reinforces a narrative of self-worth, making it easier for a supportive inner voice to flourish. Additionally, practice expressing gratitude for the parts of yourself that you find challenging. If you're hard on yourself for being anxious, thank your anxiety for trying to protect you, even if it's misguided. If you're critical of your sensitivity, appreciate it as a sign of empathy and depth. This practice helps reframe perceived flaws as aspects of yourself that deserve understanding and care. 4. Develop a personal mantra for confidence. A personal mantra is a short, powerful phrase that encapsulates your values, strength, and goals. Unlike affirmations, which are often specific, a mantra serves as a broader anchor that grounds you in moments of self-doubt or anxiety. It's a phrase you can return to whenever your inner critic starts to take over, offering immediate reassurance and clarity. To create your mantra, think about the qualities you want to embody and the message you need to hear most. Your mantra could be something like I am strong and resilient, I am worthy of love and respect, or I am enough, just as I am. Choose a phrase that resonates deeply with you, one that feels like a guiding principle for your life. Use your mantra as a mental reset whenever you feel overwhelmed by self-criticism. Repeat it silently during stressful moments, write it on a note in your wallet, or set it as a reminder on your phone. The more you engage with your mantra, the more it becomes a steady, supportive voice in your inner dialogue. 5. Engage in self-compassionate self-reflection. Self-reflection is an essential part of personal growth, but when dominated by the inner critic, it often becomes an exercise in self-blame and regret. To cultivate a supportive inner voice, practice self-compassionate reflection that acknowledges your efforts, celebrates your progress, and offers gentle guidance for future improvement. Instead of asking, "Why did I mess up?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of dwelling on perceived failures, reflect on how you showed up despite your fears or challenges. This shift in perspective allows you to see yourself through a lens of kindness and curiosity rather than judgment, fostering a more nurturing internal dialogue. Use journaling as a tool for compassionate reflection. Write about your experiences without censoring your emotions, but make a conscious effort to end each entry on a supportive note. Highlight what you did well, express understanding for your struggles, and outline small, achievable steps you can take moving forward. This practice helps reinforce a narrative of continuous growth, encouraging a supportive inner voice that guides rather than criticizes. Strategies to reinforce self-belief in social situations. Social situations can be a breeding ground for the inner critic, especially when you're feeling vulnerable or exposed. However, by actively engaging your supportive inner voice, you can navigate these interactions with greater confidence and ease. Here are strategies to help you reinforce self-belief in the moment. 1. Use positive self-talk in real time. Before entering a social situation, take a moment to set your intentions with positive self-talk. Remind yourself of your strengths, such as your ability to listen, your sense of humor, or your genuine interest in others. If your critic starts to creep in, counter it with affirmations that ground you in your worth, such as "I belong here" or "My presence adds value." During interactions, stay mindful of your self-talk. If you catch yourself thinking, "I'm coming across as awkward," reframe it to something more supportive, like "I'm doing my best, and that's enough." The goal is to keep your inner dialogue constructive, focusing on what is within your control and letting go of the need for perfection. 2. Practice visualization before social engagements. Visualization isn't just a tool for building a positive self-image, it can also be used to reinforce supportive self-talk in social situations. Before attending an event, meeting, or gathering, spend a few minutes visualizing yourself interacting with confidence and ease. Imagine your supportive inner voice cheering you on, offering words of encouragement rather than criticism. Picture yourself handling any awkward moments with grace, responding to challenges calmly, and engaging others in meaningful conversation. This mental rehearsal primes your mind to expect positive outcomes, making it easier for your supportive voice to emerge during the actual interaction. 3. Reflect on social wins. After social interactions, take time to reflect on what went well rather than fixating on perceived mistakes. Ignite moments where you felt comfortable, connected, or proud of how you handled a situation. Even small wins, like maintaining eye contact or starting a conversation, are worth celebrating. By focusing on your successes, you reinforce a narrative of competence and growth, which strengthens your supportive inner voice. This practice shifts your attention from what didn't go perfectly to the progress you're making, helping you build a more resilient and confident self-perception. Moving forward, creating a lifelong supportive inner dialogue. Replacing your inner critic with a supportive inner voice is a lifelong journey that requires patience, practice, and self-compassion. It's about consistently choosing kindness over judgment, encouragement over criticism, and growth over perfection. Each time you engage in positive self-talk, affirm your worth, or reflect with compassion, you are strengthening a new narrative, one that empowers rather than diminishes you. As you continue to cultivate this supportive inner dialogue, remember that setbacks are part of the process. There will be moments when the critic resurfaces, especially during times of stress or change. When this happens, don't view it as a failure. Instead, see it as an opportunity to practice resilience and recommit to your supportive voice. The goal isn't to silence the critic entirely, but to create a balanced internal landscape where your supportive voice is the dominant force. This voice doesn't ignore your flaws or challenges, it acknowledges them with understanding, guides you towards solutions, and celebrates your efforts along the way. With each step you take, you are rewriting the story of who you are, replacing doubt with belief and criticism with compassion. Your supportive inner voice is your greatest ally in the quest for self-acceptance and confidence. Nurture it, trust it, and let it guide you toward a life where your mind is a safe, encouraging space, one that reflects the truth of your worth and the promise of your potential. Chapter 10. Long-term strategies to keep the inner critic quiet. Quieting your inner critic is an ongoing process, one that requires consistent effort and a long-term commitment to self-care and self-compassion. Even after making significant progress, it's natural for the critic to re-emerge during moments of stress, change, or self-doubt. To maintain the supportive inner voice you've worked so hard to cultivate, it's crucial to develop strategies that keep the critic in check and reinforce your positive self-dialogue over time. This chapter will explore long-term strategies designed to help you sustain the progress you've made. By integrating these approaches into your daily life, you can create a supportive environment both mentally and physically that nurtures your growth, protects your self-esteem, and keeps your inner critic at bay. From daily habits that reinforce positive thinking to building a strong support network, these strategies will empower you to live confidently and authentically, free from the constant pull of self-criticism. Maintaining progress, daily habits for a quieter mind. Long-term success in managing your inner critic hinges on the small, consistent habits you build into your routine. These daily practices are the foundation of a supportive mindset, helping you stay grounded, positive, and resilient in the face of challenges. Here are key habits to incorporate into your life to maintain a quieter mind and a stronger sense of self-worth. 1. Start your day with intentional mindfulness. How you start your day sets the tone for how you navigate the rest of it. Incorporating a brief mindfulness practice into your morning routine can help you establish a sense of calm and clarity that buffers against the inner critic's influence. Whether it's 5 minutes of deep breathing, a short meditation, or simply sitting quietly with your thoughts, this time allows you to center yourself before the demands of the day begin. Use this moment to set a positive intention for the day, such as I will speak to myself with kindness or I will embrace imperfection. These simple affirmations act as mental anchors, reminding you throughout the day to keep your self-talk supportive. By starting your day with mindfulness, You cultivate a habit of presence and self-awareness that keeps your inner critic from dominating your thoughts. 2. Practice regular self-check-ins. Self-check-ins are brief moments throughout the day where you pause, reflect, and assess your current state of mind. These check-ins serve as opportunities to catch any negative self-talk before it spirals out of control. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What thoughts are running through my mind? Are they supportive or critical? If you notice the critic creeping in, use this moment to redirect your self-talk. Remind yourself of your intentions, repeat a supportive affirmation, or take a few deep breaths to reset. Regular self-check-ins keep you connected to your inner dialogue, allowing you to make adjustments as needed and maintain a balanced, positive mindset. 3. Engage in daily gratitude and reflection. Gratitude and reflection are powerful tools for keeping the inner critic quiet. By regularly acknowledging what you appreciate about yourself and your life, you shift your focus away from what's lacking or flawed to what is working and fulfilling. Each day, take a moment to reflect on what went well, what you're proud of, and what you're grateful for. In your reflections, include aspects of yourself that you often overlook or undervalue. Recognize the effort you put into your work, the kindness you showed to someone, or the courage it took to face a challenging situation. This practice not only reinforces a supportive inner voice but also builds a habit of self-acknowledgement that counters the critica e negativity. 4. Keep a self-compassion journal. A self-compassion journal is a dedicated space where you document moments of self-kindness, personal growth, and resilience. Use it to record supportive self-talk, positive affirmations, and reflections on how you've responded to challenges with grace. This journal serves as a tangible reminder of your progress, reinforcing the belief that you are capable of overcoming adversity without harsh self-judgment. Whenever the critic gets loud, revisit your journal to remind yourself of the times you've successfully quieted it. Reading through these entries can be a powerful way to reconnect with your supportive voice and keep the critica e influence in perspective. Your journal becomes a personal archive of your journey, one that celebrates your strengths and supports you in moments of doubt. Building a support system to encourage positive self-talk. A strong support system plays a crucial role in maintaining a supportive inner dialogue. Surrounding yourself with people who uplift, validate, and encourage you provides a buffer against the inner critica e influence. Your relationships, whether with friends, family, mentors, or support groups, act as external affirmations of your worth, reinforcing the positive messages you strive to internalize. 1. Seek out positive and encouraging relationships. Not all relationships are created equal when it comes to supporting your mental well-being. It's important to nurture connections with people who genuinely care for you, respect you, and encourage your growth. These are individuals who listen without judgment, offer constructive feedback, and celebrate your achievements, big or small. Conversely, be mindful of relationships that tend to amplify your inner critic. If someone consistently criticizes, undermines, or dismisses you, it's okay to set boundaries or distance yourself from that influence. Protecting your mental and emotional space is a form of self-respect, and it helps maintain the integrity of your supportive inner voice. 2. Join communities that share your goals. Communities, whether in person or online, can provide invaluable support in your journey to keep the inner critic quiet. Joining groups that share your interests, values, or goals such as personal growth workshops, support groups, or creative circles offers a sense of belonging and shared purpose. These spaces provide a platform for exchanging encouragement, advice, and understanding, reinforcing the belief that you are not alone in your struggles. Being part of a community also exposes you to diverse perspectives and coping strategies, helping you build resilience against your inner critic. When you see others managing similar challenges, it validates your experience and offers inspiration for your own journey. The collective support of a community can be a powerful counterbalance to the critica e isolating narrative. 3. Engage in constructive conversations about self-talk. One effective way to reinforce positive self-talk is to engage in conversations with others about the power of inner dialogue. Discussing self-talk openly with friends, family, or a therapist helps demystify the experience of dealing with an inner critic, reducing the shame or secrecy that often surrounds it. These conversations allow you to share your strategies for managing self-criticism, gain insights from others, and hold each other accountable for practicing supportive self-talk. By normalizing the discussion of inner dialogue, you create an environment that prioritizes mental well-being and reinforces the importance of treating yourself with kindness. Setting boundaries with yourself and others. Setting boundaries is essential for maintaining a supportive inner dialogue. Boundaries help protect your mental space from external pressures and internal expectations that fuel your inner critic. By clearly defining what you will and won't tolerate from both yourself and others, you create a safer, more nurturing environment for your supportive voice to thrive. 1. Set boundaries with perfectionism. Perfectionism is a major trigger for the inner critic, often leading to feelings of inadequacy and relentless self-judgment. To keep the critic at bay, it's important to set boundaries with your perfectionist tendencies. This means recognizing when your standards are unrealistic and giving yourself permission to do things imperfectly. Practice setting specific, achievable goals rather than all-or-nothing expectations. Allow yourself to make mistakes, learn from them, and move on without harsh self-reproach. By setting boundaries with perfectionism, you create space for growth and self-compassion, reinforcing a narrative of progress over perfection. 2. Establish digital boundaries. In the digital age, constant exposure to social media, news, and online criticism can easily amplify the inner critic. Establishing digital boundaries such as limiting screen time, curating your social media feeds, and avoiding negative online interactions helps protect your mental health from unnecessary triggers. Be mindful of the content you consume and how it impacts your self-perception. Follow accounts that inspire, educate, and uplift rather than those that provoke comparison or self-doubt. Digital boundaries are about creating a virtual environment that supports your well-being and keeps your inner critic in check. 3. Communicate your needs with others. Setting boundaries also involves communicating your needs with the people in your life. If you're struggling with self-doubt, let trusted individuals know how they can best support you. Whether it's asking for a listening ear, requesting constructive feedback instead of criticism, or simply expressing your desire for encouragement. Clear communication strengthens your support network and reinforces positive self-talk. Boundaries are not about shutting people out, they are about defining how you engage with others in ways that protect your mental and emotional health. By setting and maintaining boundaries, you prioritize your inner peace and create a foundation for sustaining a supportive inner voice. Reflecting on your journey and celebrating successes. Long-term success in quieting your inner critic isn't just about managing setbacks. It's also about recognizing and celebrating your progress. Reflection is a powerful tool that helps you appreciate how far you've come, reinforcing the supportive inner voice you've cultivated. By taking the time to reflect on your journey, you honor the effort, resilience, and growth that have brought you to where you are today. 1. Review your achievements regularly. Make it a habit to review your achievements, both big and small. Reflect on the moments when you overcame self-doubt, spoke kindly to yourself, or handled a challenging situation with grace. Write down these successes in a dedicated journal or document them in a way that feels meaningful to you. Revisiting your achievements helps reinforce the narrative of competence and progress, keeping your supportive inner voice front and center. It's a reminder that, despite the critic's attempts to undermine you, you are capable, resilient, and worthy of celebration. 2. Celebrate milestones in creative ways. Celebrating your milestones doesn't have to be grand or elaborate. It can be as simple as treating yourself to something special, sharing your success with a friend, or taking a moment to reflect on your hard work. The act of celebration reinforces positive reinforcement, encouraging you to continue nurturing a supportive inner dialogue. Create rituals around your celebrations, like lighting a candle, enjoying a favorite activity, or creating a visual representation of your achievements. These small acts of recognition validate your efforts and serve as a constant reminder that you are deserving of acknowledgement and praise. 3. Set new intentions for continued growth. Reflection also provides an opportunity to set new intentions for your personal growth. As you look back on your journey, identify areas where you want to continue improving or new challenges you're ready to take on. Setting intentions keeps you focused on the future, motivating you to maintain your supportive inner voice as you pursue new goals. Whether it's deepening your self-compassion, building stronger boundaries, or exploring new avenues of creativity, your intentions serve as guideposts that keep you moving forward. Embrace them with a sense of curiosity and optimism, knowing that your inner critic no longer has the final say. Moving forward, embracing a life of self-support and confidence. As you move forward, remember that managing your inner critic is not about achieving a perfect state of mind but about cultivating a consistent, supportive relationship with yourself. The strategies you've learned are tools that empower you to live with greater self-awareness, resilience, and confidence, allowing your supportive inner voice to guide you through life's inevitable ups and downs. This journey is lifelong, marked by moments of triumph, periods of challenge, and continuous growth. By embracing these long-term strategies, you create a sustainable foundation for mental and emotional well-being, one where your inner critic's voice becomes quieter and less influential. Your supportive inner voice is not just a shield against negativity, it is a compass that points you toward a more authentic, fulfilling, and empowered version of yourself. Celebrate the progress you've made, honor the effort you've put in, and trust in your capacity to keep moving forward. With each day, each practice, and each act of self-kindness, you are rewriting your narrative, one that reflects your true worth, resilience, and the unwavering belief that you are more than enough. Conclusion: embracing your true self without fear. As you reach the end of this journey, it's important to reflect on how far you've come. From recognizing and understanding your inner critic to actively reshaping your self-talk, you've taken powerful steps toward reclaiming your mind and nurturing a more compassionate, supportive relationship with yourself. The inner critic, once a dominant force that fueled your social anxiety and self-doubt, is no longer in control. You've learned to confront it, challenge it, and, most importantly, replace it with a voice that truly reflects who you are: capable, resilient, and worthy. This conclusion isn't the end of your work, but rather the beginning of a lifelong commitment to embracing your true self without fear. Quieting your inner critic is a dynamic process. It evolves as you grow, face new challenges, and continue to learn about yourself. There will be times when the critic's voice resurfaces, whispering doubts and criticisms, especially in moments of stress or vulnerability. But now, armed with the tools and insights you've gained, you are better equipped to meet these challenges with strength, self-compassion, and a renewed sense of self-belief. Reflecting on your transformation, from criticism to compassion. One of the most profound shifts in this journey has been moving from a mindset of criticism to one of compassion. This transformation isn't just about being nicer to yourself, it's about fundamentally changing how you view mistakes, setbacks, and imperfections. You've learned that self-compassion is not a weakness but a powerful antidote to self-criticism, one that allows you to embrace your humanity fully and without shame. By cultivating self-compassion, you've begun to see your flaws not as failures but as natural, inevitable parts of being human. You've learned to treat yourself with the same kindness you would offer a friend, recognizing that everyone makes mistakes and that each misstep is an opportunity for growth. This shift in perspective has weakened your inner critic's grip, allowing a more balanced, forgiving voice to emerge, one that understands that you are constantly evolving and that perfection is neither possible nor necessary. As you continue to practice self-compassion, remember that it's okay to have moments of self-doubt. The goal isn't to eliminate negative thoughts entirely but to meet them with patience and understanding. When your inner critic resurfaces, respond with the compassion you've cultivated, reminding yourself that you are deserving of kindness, no matter what. Embracing authenticity, living without the fear of judgment. A major theme throughout this book has been the fear of judgment, how it drives social anxiety, fuels the inner critic, and holds you back from fully expressing who you are. One of the most liberating aspects of this journey is learning to embrace your authenticity, free from the constraints of other people's opinions. Authenticity means showing up as your true self, without the masks, pretenses, or adaptations that are often used to fit in or avoid criticism. It means being honest about your feelings, standing by your values, and allowing your unique qualities to shine, even when they don't conform to societal expectations. This level of self-expression is not only freeing but also deeply rewarding, as it fosters genuine connections with others and cultivates a sense of inner peace. To live authentically, you must continue to challenge the critic's fear-based narratives that tell you you're not enough, that you must change to be accepted, or that your worth is tied to external validation. Replace these narratives with affirmations of self-acceptance. I am enough as I am, my value is not determined by others, and I have the right to be true to myself. Embrace the freedom that comes with releasing the need for approval and recognize that your worth is inherent, not conditional. Reclaiming your power. Taking control of your narrative. Throughout this book, you've explored the power of narrative, the stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you're capable of, and what you deserve. The inner critic thrives on a disempowering narrative, one that highlights failures, exaggerates flaws, and diminishes your accomplishments. But you've learned that you have the power to reclaim and rewrite this narrative, turning it into a story of resilience, growth, and self-empowerment. Reclaiming your narrative means taking ownership of your inner dialogue and choosing the language you use to describe yourself and your experiences. It's about recognizing that while you cannot control every thought that crosses your mind, you do have control over how you respond to those thoughts. When the critic tells you that you're not good enough, you now have the tools to counter it with the truth. You are enough, you are capable, and you are worthy of all the good that life has to offer. This reclamation of narrative is a powerful act of self-liberation. It allows you to break free from the constraints of self-doubt and step into your full potential. As you move forward, continue to write your story in a way that honors your journey, celebrates your strengths, and reflects the person you are becoming, someone who is resilient, compassionate, and unapologetically themselves. Continuing your growth beyond this book. The insights and techniques you've learned here are the foundation of a lifelong journey toward greater self-awareness, self-acceptance, and personal growth. While this book has provided you with tools to quiet your inner critic, the work doesn't stop here. Personal growth is a continuous process, one that requires ongoing reflection, adaptation, and commitment. Keep exploring new ways to nurture your supportive inner voice. Continue practicing mindfulness, self-compassion, and gratitude. Seek out new challenges that push you out of your comfort zone and provide opportunities for learning. Surround yourself with people who uplift and inspire you. And don't be afraid to seek support when needed, whether through therapy, coaching, or community. Remember, growth is not linear. There will be times when you feel like you're taking steps backward or when the critic's voice becomes louder again. When this happens, return to the practices that ground you, reconnect with your intentions, and remind yourself of how far you've come. Progress is made in small, consistent steps, and each day presents a new opportunity to deepen your commitment to living authentically and compassionately. Final thoughts on living free from the inner critic. Living free from the inner critic doesn't mean you'll never hear its voice again. It means that its voice no longer dictates your actions, your self-worth, or your perception of what is possible. You've learned to quiet the critic not by force but by compassion, by replacing fear with understanding, and by choosing to speak to yourself with the kindness and respect you deserve. As you embrace this new way of being, remember that your inner world is yours to shape. You have the power to create a mental environment that supports your dreams, honors your efforts, and celebrates your unique journey. Your mind can be a place of refuge rather than a battleground, a space where you feel safe, accepted, and empowered. You are more than the sum of your fears, your mistakes, or the harsh words of your inner critic. You are a complex, evolving, and inherently valuable individual with the capacity for growth, joy, and connection. Trust in your resilience, honor your journey, and continue to build a life that reflects the best of who you are. Thank you for embarking on this journey to quiet your inner critic and embrace your true self. Remember, the most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself. Nurture it, protect it, and let it be a source of strength and inspiration as you move forward into a life free from the constraints of self-doubt and full of the promise of your potential. You are, and always have been, more than enough.